Lesson 9.9, solve for side of similar triangles. You're going to have some distribution when you solve. Number 1 says, in the diagram below, segment DE is parallel to AB. So that right there tells us that since these are parallel, we have corresponding angles here. We also have a 90s in these corners, so there's 2 angles right there. We also know that this triangle here shares the same angle with the big triangle right here. So they both have this angle in common. So now I want to try to figure out how can I make a proportion. It says if side DE is 5 less than DC. Be very careful with this wording. When I say 5 less than 10, you don't go 5 minus 10, because that would make -5. You would think 5 less than 10 is 10 minus 5. And so actually the 5 came after the 10. So if I'm saying 5 less than whatever DC is, DC should be my X, and then X minus 5 will get me DE. AC, which is this whole side of the big triangle, is 56. AB is 48. Find the length of DC. Okay, so I'm seeing right away that this leg of the small triangle corresponds to this leg of the whole big triangle. So I'm going to put X minus 5 is to 48 as, and then since I started with the small triangle, as this hypotenuse is to this whole hypotenuse. So X is to 56. We're going to cross multiply, so I get 56 times X minus 5 equals 48X. Distribute. 56 times X minus 56 times 5 is 280 equals 48X. And so I want to get my x's on the same side. I'm going to subtract 56x. Would be an 8, -8. X equals -280. Divide by -8. And you should get X to be 35. But it asked for DC, which is, yeah, just X, right? What did it ask for? Yeah, just X. If they would have wanted us to find DE, we would have taken 35 minus 5, which would have been 30. Number 2, in the diagram below, PQ is parallel to MN. So again, we have the same setup here where I know these are 2 similar triangles. If the length of MN is the same as the length of PO, so MN I'll call X and PO, really, so definitely not drawing the scale, is it? MN, yep, and PO. Okay, MO, this whole thing, that was a bad squiggle, and is 5, PQ is 2. Find the length of PO. State your answer in simplest radical form this time if necessary. Okay, so I see a relationship here. So I have this small triangle. Here's this bottom leg would correspond to this bottom leg. So I'm going to put 2 is to X as X is to the whole thing 5. Cross multiply, so I get X times X makes X squared equals 2 times 5 is 10. To get X not being square, we would square root. It would be a positive and a negative square root of 10, but because we're doing like a real world problem where it's some kind of unit of measurement, we can't get negative, so just be square root of 10. 10 has no perfect square in it, like 4 or 9. Nothing multiplies to make it, so that would be our answer. Number 3, in the diagram below, NO is parallel to KL. NO parallel to KL. So again, this would show us angle M would be the same in this small triangle and in the whole entire triangle. And I would have some corresponding angles here. If this was my transversal, this would be the same as this, right? And then this would be the same as this. And then it says if NO is 3 more than LO. So LO is the one we don't know anything about. I'll call it X. NO is going to be 3 more than that, not 3 times, just 3 more, so it'd be X plus 3. MO is 10. And KL is 12. Find the length of LO. All right, we've got this side here is X plus 3 is similar to the side 12 equals, okay, be careful here. I'm going to do short side first, so 10, but I can't compare it to X. I need to somehow write something that represents this total length, which would be 10 plus X. Okay, so be very careful because this tells me nothing. I need the whole side of the big triangle for this to work. And so I've got X plus 3 times 10 plus X. 12 times 10 is 120. You're going to have to FOIL here. FOIL stands for multiply first, outer, inner, last in that order. So first would be the X times the 10. That's 10X. Outer would be the two farthest away from each other. X times X is X squared. Inner would be the two closest together. 3 times 10 is 30. And then last would be this 3 comes last and this X comes last. 3X. You want to put them in order and simplify. So I'm going to put X squared plus 10X plus 3X is 13X plus 30 equals 120. I'm going to have to get this set equal to 0 because this is a quadratic. 30 minus 120 is negative 90. And now I'm trying to factor this. Think about what your last term is and what would multiply to make it. And so I know one number is going to be a positive, one's going to be a negative. If you get stuck, list all the factors of 90. Start with 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30, 4, no, 5 times, what, 18? Yes. And you could keep going, but since you're trying to multiply to make negative 90, one of the sets of numbers has to be a negative, and we want more positive. So we'll keep the bigger numbers positive and make the negative numbers the smaller numbers. So I see that 18 minus 5 would make the middle term 16. So this is X plus 18 times X minus 5. So then when I solve those factors, when I set them equal to 0, I have X, or what number plus 18 would make nothing? I'd subtract 18, and that would mean X is negative 18. This one I'd have X minus 5 equals 0. I would add 5, so X would be 5. The negative answer does not make sense in this problem because we were trying to talk about feet or inches or centimeters, some kind of length. So this would be 5 is X. The only thing, what did it ask us to find? Find LO, which is X. Okay, so X is 5 is our final answer.